Let me ask you something. When does a head coach just disappear from an international tournament sideline without a single word of explanation? No press release, no injury announcement, no statement from the organization, no goodbye, nothing. One day, Kara Lawson is standing on that Team USA sideline making substitution decisions and calling timeouts, and then, just like that, she is gone. Nate Tibbetts is standing there instead in a polo shirt, running the huddle like he had been there the whole time. And the very first thing Tibbetts does, he puts Caitlin Clark in the starting lineup, the same Caitlin Clark that the previous staff had kept off that starting lineup in 4 out of 5 games. The same Caitlin Clark who had just broken 5 FIBA world records in her debut and was still watching opening tips from the bench. The same Caitlin Clark whose presence on the floor was visibly and measurably transforming this team every single time she checked in, and yet somehow kept finding herself in a supporting role that made absolutely no sense given what the numbers were screaming. One coaching change, one lineup decision, and Team USA went out and beat New Zealand by 55 points. None of that is a coincidence, and the basketball world knows it. To understand how we got here, you have to go back to where this whole story actually started. December 2025, Durham, North Carolina, a Team USA training camp that most casual fans barely paid attention to, but that set the tone for everything that followed in Puerto Rico. Kara Lawson had just been officially appointed as head coach of the USA Women's National Team program, a role that would carry her all the way through the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles. She assembled her staff carefully. Stephanie White, the Indiana Fever head coach and Clark's own WNBA coach, came in as an assistant. Nate Tibbetts of the Phoenix Mercury was also brought on as an assistant. On paper, it looked like a loaded and experienced group. Behind closed doors, something else was quietly taking shape. Clark was doing everything right at that December camp, working with medical staff, grinding through development sessions, rebuilding her body after a brutal 2025 WNBA season where injuries had limited her to just 13 games and stripped one of the most explosive players in the sport of nearly an entire year of competitive basketball. She had missed the All-Star game. She had missed the playoffs. She had watched from the sideline as her Indiana Fever teammates made a deep postseason run without her. And yet, when that December camp opened, Clark looked like herself again. Locked in, energized, ready. What was not visible on camera was the quiet tension building around exactly how she would actually be used once the real games began. Fast forward to Puerto Rico, March 2026. Lawson came into this tournament with a philosophy she described openly as a fact-finding mission. She wanted to evaluate the full roster, see which combinations worked, rotate all 12 players heavily, and build a foundation for what Team USA would look like heading toward Berlin and eventually Los Angeles. That philosophy put Clark in the second unit from day one, and the results showed up immediately, just not in the way the coaching staff wanted. Game 1 against Senegal. Clark comes off the bench, plays limited minutes, and in that limited time breaks 5 FIBA world records in a single game, the highest assist total ever recorded by a USA debutante in qualifying tournament history. Records that had stood untouched for decades, gone in one night by a player who was not even starting. Lawson's response? Clark went back to the bench for Game 2. The offense in those first 2 games was slow and deliberate, half-court sets, veterans controlling the ball, the pace of a team that was carefully managing minutes rather than trying to run anyone off the floor. And every single time Clark stepped on that floor, the tempo jumped, the assists jumped, the spacing opened. The team that had been grinding through possessions suddenly looked like a completely different unit. And then she sat back down. Fans noticed immediately. Social media was boiling over. People were asking the same question over and over with increasing frustration. Why is the best player on this floor coming off the bench? And then came the moment that changed everything. The Puerto Rico game. Clark's minutes got cut even further. Puerto Rico ran a box-and-one defensive scheme specifically designed to take her completely out of the game, and with Clark in a restricted role, operating within a system not built around her strengths, it worked. The team struggled. The offense looked stuck. Commentators were confused. Fans were furious. After that game, a reporter stood up at the press conference and asked Lawson directly, point blank, about Clark's role going forward. Lawson pivoted, talked about team unity, said everyone on this roster deserves to shine, mentioned how talented the whole group is. She did not say Clark's name when asked directly. She did not address the minutes. She did not explain a single thing about the decision to keep the player who had just broken 5 world records in a secondary role. Just a non-answer and move on. That press conference moment landed differently than anything else that happened in this tournament, because it told everyone watching exactly what they needed to know about the philosophy in that coaching room. 5 world records broken, a team clearly operating at a higher level every time Clark ran the offense, and the head coach will not say her name when asked directly. Then Lawson disappeared. No announcement, no press release, no statement explaining her absence. She was simply not on that sideline anymore. Nate Tibbetts, her assistant, was standing there instead, running Team USA in an interim capacity. USA Basketball said nothing publicly. No update on Lawson's status, no explanation for the change. Complete organizational silence about something that was happening in full public view on an international stage. And when organizations go that quiet about something that visible, it usually means the answer is something they would rather not say out loud. Tibbetts stepped in and did something almost immediately that said everything without saying anything at all. He put Caitlin Clark in the starting lineup. No long installation period, no gradual adjustment, no committee decision about balancing veteran experience with emerging talent. He looked at the same roster Lawson had been coaching and made the call that the data had been pointing towards since Game 1. The best player starts. The offense runs through its best playmaker. The team gets built around what it actually does well. Game 4. Clark starting, USA 101, New Zealand 55. 55 points, the largest margin of victory in the entire tournament, and Clark, in just 23 minutes, posted 14 points, 6 assists, 0 turnovers, and the most efficient performance on the floor. The contrast with the first 2 games was not subtle. It was not a minor tactical adjustment. It was a completely different team playing completely different basketball because the person who should have been running the offense from Game 1 was finally running it. And then Tibbetts walked to that podium. He did not dodge the questions. He did not pivot to speeches about team unity or equal opportunity. He stood in front of those cameras and acknowledged clearly and without diplomatic cushioning that the previous approach had not been optimal, that building around elite talent and giving players clarity in their roles was the path forward, that the offense performed at its highest level when the system was built to maximize the best players on the floor, rather than distribute minutes equally. He did not throw Lawson directly under the bus. He did not use the word sabotage. He did not make accusations. He did not need to, because what he confirmed at that podium, combined with what the scoreboard had been saying since Game 1, told the complete story without a single inflammatory word. The system in place before his arrival had not been unlocking Clark the way her abilities demanded, and the moment that system changed, the results changed immediately and dramatically. Now, here's what makes this story bigger than one tournament. Kara Lawson is coming back. Berlin is in September. The World Cup matters in ways that Puerto Rico never could, and the coaching staff that kept Clark in a restricted role for the first half of this tournament will be making the decisions again when the stakes are absolutely at their highest point. Tibbetts showed everyone what this team looks like when Clark is fully empowered. A 23-point run in 6 minutes against Italy, a 55-point destruction of New Zealand, a tournament MVP performance that led every single statistical category across the entire field. The blueprint is right there on the scoreboard for anyone willing to look at it. Whether Lawson picks it up when she returns to that sideline in Berlin is the question the entire women's basketball world is going to be watching very closely. Because if she doesn't, if Clark shows up to the World Cup and finds herself again being managed into a role that limits what she can actually do, the conversation that erupted in Puerto Rico is going to look quiet by comparison. Everyone has seen what's possible now, and once you've seen it, it's very hard to look away. Drop a comment. Do you think Lawson will build around Clark in Berlin, or will history repeat itself? Subscribe and turn on notifications, because this story is nowhere near finished.